Tonight, social media is on fire, timelines are melting down, and fans are holding their breath over what many are calling the most explosive reality-style scandal of the year. What started as a whisper has now erupted into a full-blown online war, and at the center of it all are two familiar names that nobody ever expected to see linked like this. When alleged secrets collide with bruised egos and raw emotion, the fallout can be vicious, and fans are shocked by just how ugly this situation has become. It all began late last night when rumors started spreading that Tamar Braxton had exposed a deeply personal encounter during what many believed was an emotional livestream moment. Viewers swear her tone shifted, her voice cracked, and the hints became impossible to ignore. Screenshots flew, clips were replayed, comment sections exploded with speculation. Was she venting? Was she confessing? Or was she finally breaking her silence after holding something in for far too long? But just when fans thought the story couldn't get any messier, things allegedly took a dark turn. Within hours, insiders began claiming that Mendeecees Harris reacted in a way no one saw coming. Angry messages, heated phone calls, and what sources are describing as a brutal verbal attack supposedly followed, sending shockwaves through both fan bases. Emotions ran high, tempers flared, and suddenly this wasn't just gossip, it was a full-blown drama storm. Fans are shocked not only by the alleged confrontation, but by how quickly the situation spiraled. One minute it was speculation, the next minute it was accusations, denials, and cryptic posts that seemed to confirm everything without saying anything at all. Something serious went down, one fan wrote. You can feel it through the screen. Another commented, this is bigger than reality TV. This feels personal. As the night went on, the tension only grew thicker. Friends were rumored to be choosing sides. Family members allegedly stepped in behind the scenes. Old wounds, unresolved issues, and past betrayals suddenly resurfaced, dragging everyone into the chaos. The internet became judge, jury, and executioner, while both camps stayed mysteriously quiet, a silence that only fueled the fire. So what really happened that night? Was Tamar speaking her truth, or was something taken out of context? Did Mendeecees cross a line in his alleged response, or is there another side fans haven't heard yet? One thing is certain. This story is far from over, and the deeper you go, the more explosive it becomes. Stay right here, because once we break this down, nothing about this drama will feel simple ever again. The moment the clip finished circulating, the air around the entire situation felt heavy, like something irreversible had just been set in motion. Fans replayed the video again and again, pausing at every sigh, every eye roll, every half-second silence where it seemed like something deeper was about to spill out. People swore they could hear pain underneath the jokes, anger buried under sarcasm. Comments flooded in faster than anyone could read them. Fans are shocked became the phrase of the night, because no one expected this kind of revelation to come from someone who had been smiling through interviews just days earlier. And while the internet debated whether it was intentional or accidental, word quietly spread that Mendeecees Harris had already seen the clip and was not taking it lightly. Sources close to him claimed his mood shifted instantly. Laughter gone, calm replaced by tension. One insider said the room went silent after he watched it, as if everyone knew something explosive was about to happen. Allegedly, he replayed one particular part over and over, jaw clenched, eyes locked on the screen. That was the moment, fans believe, when the confrontation truly began. Because not long after, messages started flying behind the scenes. Phones buzzed. Voices were raised, emotions ran high. What was once a vague rumor suddenly felt like a personal attack, and according to those close to the situation, he felt exposed, embarrassed, and blindsided. Meanwhile, Tamar Braxton was reportedly spiraling in a completely different way. Friends say she hadn't planned for things to go that far. She thought she was speaking her truth without naming names, not lighting a fuse that would blow up everyone involved. But once the internet connected the dots, there was no putting the genie back in the bottle. Her phone reportedly started ringing non-stop. Friends checking in, family members asking questions, even fans demanding answers, and in the middle of it all, she allegedly received a message that changed everything. Those close to Tamar say the tone of that message was cold, sharp, and filled with rage. No greetings, no soft words, just accusations. According to leaked whispers, he accused her of lying, of twisting the narrative, of humiliating him publicly. The words were said to be brutal, cutting straight into old wounds that never fully healed. And while no screenshots were officially confirmed, people swear they know what was said because the emotional shift in Tamar afterward was impossible to miss. She reportedly broke down, pacing her home, replaying the night in her head, wondering how something she thought was private had now turned into a public battlefield. As news of the alleged confrontation spread, reactions poured in from every direction. Fans took sides instantly, some defending Tamar's right to speak her truth, others accusing her of clout chasing. On the other hand, supporters of Mendeecees insisted he was being unfairly dragged into a narrative that didn't tell the full story. The family was left divided, with whispers that even relatives were arguing over what really happened that night. Group chats reportedly exploded, old resentments resurfaced, people who had stayed silent for years suddenly felt emboldened to speak. One source claimed that Mendeecees felt betrayed not just by Tamar, but by people he trusted who allegedly knew about the night long before the public did. That sense of betrayal reportedly fueled his anger even more. He allegedly questioned who else knew, who talked, and who stayed silent while his name was about to trend for all the wrong reasons. Insiders say he felt cornered, like his past was being dragged back into the spotlight without his consent. And in his mind, Tamar became the face of that threat. On Tamar's side, friends say she felt misunderstood and attacked. She reportedly told a close confidant that she never expected the reaction to be so aggressive. She believed she was finally releasing something that had weighed on her emotionally, not starting a war. But once the alleged verbal attack happened, her perspective shifted. Suddenly, it wasn't just about the night anymore. It was about control, power, and who gets to tell the story. Emotions ran high as she questioned whether staying silent for so long had only given others permission to rewrite her truth. As the night stretched into early morning, cryptic social media posts began appearing. Nothing direct, but just enough to keep fans guessing. Vague captions about betrayal, quotes about silence being mistaken for weakness. Fans dissected every emoji, every timestamp, every deleted comment. One post went up, then vanished minutes later, sending speculation into overdrive. People swore it was a response. Others insisted it was a warning. Either way, it confirmed what everyone already felt: this was far from over. Behind closed doors, sources say attempts were made to calm the situation. Mutual friends allegedly tried to mediate, urging both sides to step back before things escalated further. But the damage had already been done. Trust was fractured, egos were bruised, and the public was watching closely, waiting for the next move. Every hour of silence felt louder than the last. Fans refreshed their feeds endlessly, convinced another bombshell was coming. By sunrise, the narrative had grown even darker. Rumors surfaced that the alleged confrontation wasn't just one conversation, but multiple exchanges that grew more heated as the night went on. Voices raised, accusations repeated, old history dragged back into the present. People whispered that boundaries were crossed, lines were blurred, and respect was lost. No official statements were made, but the tension was undeniable. This wasn't just gossip anymore. This was personal. And as both sides retreated into silence, one question echoed across the internet louder than any rumor. If this was only the beginning, how much worse was it about to get? The silence that followed felt louder than the chaos that came before it. Fans waited, critics speculated, and behind the scenes, emotions were still boiling over. According to whispers from people close to the situation, the alleged confrontation didn't end with that first exchange. Instead, it cracked open a door that had been locked for years. Unresolved tension, buried resentment, and unspoken truths began pouring out in ways neither side could control. While the public only saw cryptic posts and sudden quiet, the real storm was raging in private. Insiders claim that Mendeecees Harris felt his entire image was under attack. To him, it wasn't just about one night being mentioned, it was about the implications, the assumptions, and the way the internet was running wild with half-formed narratives. He allegedly felt judged without a trial, condemned without context. People close to him say he kept repeating the same question over and over, asking why now, why like this, and why in front of millions. That frustration reportedly turned into anger, and that anger turned into words that could not be taken back. On the other side, Tamar Braxton was said to be grappling with her own emotional fallout. Friends described her as shaken, confused, and deeply hurt by the intensity of the response. She allegedly believed that speaking vaguely, without naming names, was a form of protection for everyone involved. But once she felt attacked, that sense of protection vanished. She reportedly told someone close to her that it felt like being punished for finally breathing out after holding everything in for too long. As the night turned into day, people around Tamar noticed a shift. Her tone changed. Her patience wore thin. Sources claim she began revisiting old conversations, old messages, and old memories, replaying moments she had brushed off at the time. Suddenly, things that once felt insignificant now felt loaded. She allegedly questioned whether she had been manipulated into silence, whether her feelings had been minimized to keep someone else comfortable. Emotions ran high as she struggled with the idea that telling her truth might cost her peace. Meanwhile, Mendeecees was reportedly surrounded by voices telling him to protect himself at all costs. Some encouraged him to speak out immediately, others advised silence, warning that anything said in anger could make things worse. The family was left divided, with some members urging him to clear his name and others begging him not to fuel the fire. Group calls allegedly turned tense, with raised voices and clashing opinions about how to handle the growing storm. Fans were watching every move. Every like, every follow, every unfollow became a headline in comment sections. When one mutual friend appeared to distance themselves, speculation exploded. People assumed sides had been chosen, alliances broken. Fan pages posted timelines, trying to piece together what really happened that night and what led up to it. Theories multiplied, some more dramatic than others, each adding another layer to the chaos. According to insiders, another exchange allegedly took place later that day, one that pushed everything even closer to the edge. Sources claim the conversation turned more personal, with past grievances brought up and emotional boundaries completely erased. Accusations reportedly flew from both sides, each person feeling misunderstood and attacked. What started as damage control quickly turned into emotional warfare. Voices shook, words cut deep, and once again, no one recorded it, but everyone seemed to know it happened. Tamar's inner circle claims she reached a breaking point after that conversation. She allegedly felt that the aggression confirmed her fears, that speaking up had triggered a response she had always sensed but hoped was wrong. Friends say she cried, not just over the argument, but over the realization that some connections were never as safe as she believed. To her, it wasn't about winning an argument anymore. It was about reclaiming her voice after feeling silenced emotionally. On Mendeecees' side, insiders paint a different picture. They say he felt provoked, cornered, and pushed into a defensive position. From his perspective, the story being built online erased his side completely. He allegedly felt like a villain in a movie where he never got to read the script. That sense of injustice reportedly fueled his harsh tone, making him believe that being gentle would only make him look guilty. As the day progressed, tension spilled outward. Fans began tagging family members, demanding statements. Blogs teased upcoming revelations. Reaction videos flooded timelines, each claiming to have exclusive information. Emotions ran high not just between the two involved, but across their entire circles. Friendships were tested, loyalties questioned. People who had nothing to do with that night suddenly found themselves dragged into the narrative. One source claimed that Tamar briefly considered going live again to clarify everything, but was talked out of it at the last minute. Friends feared that speaking while emotional could escalate things beyond repair. At the same time, Mendeecees was reportedly drafting statements and deleting them, torn between defending himself and avoiding further backlash. That internal tug-of-war kept both sides frozen, creating a vacuum that fans filled with speculation. By the end of the day, the situation felt heavier than before. No resolution, no apology, no clarity, just two people locked in opposing emotional realities, each convinced they were reacting to an injustice. The internet continued buzzing, feeding off the uncertainty. And as night fell again, one thing became clear to everyone watching closely: the story was no longer about one night. It had transformed into a collision of pride, pain, and long-suppressed truths that were only beginning to surface. By the second night, the tension had evolved into something far more dangerous than rumor. It had become expectation. Fans weren't just watching anymore, they were waiting, convinced that another shoe was about to drop. Every hour without clarity only sharpened the hunger for more. Blogs teased, exclusive updates, reaction channels promised bombshells, and behind the scenes, both sides were reportedly feeling the weight of the moment pressing down harder than ever. According to people close to Tamar Braxton, sleep barely came. Her mind allegedly replayed conversations from years ago, moments she once laughed off but now questioned deeply. She reportedly kept asking herself whether she had been too understanding, too forgiving, too willing to minimize her own feelings to keep the peace. Friends say she felt torn between protecting herself emotionally and protecting everyone else from public fallout. But after the alleged verbal attack, something inside her shifted. Silence no longer felt like strength. It felt like surrender. That same night, whispers began circulating that Tamar had confided in a small group about details she had never shared before. Nothing was posted publicly, but insiders claim the conversations were raw and emotional. She allegedly spoke about how that night affected her sense of trust, how it blurred lines she thought were clear, and how the aftermath left her feeling exposed in ways she hadn't expected. Those who listened reportedly urged her to be careful, reminding her that once words leave her mouth, there's no pulling them back. On the other side, Mendeecees Harris was said to be dealing with his own internal pressure cooker. Sources claim he felt boxed in by the narrative forming online, frustrated that silence was being interpreted as guilt. He allegedly told someone close to him that he felt like he was being punished for not telling his side fast enough. Every rumor felt like another brick added to the wall closing in around him. And while some advised restraint, others pushed him toward confrontation, insisting that letting the story grow unchecked would only make things worse. As hours passed, subtle shifts on social media reignited the frenzy. A like here, a follow there, a quote posted and quickly deleted. Fans analyzed everything with surgical precision. One vague caption about respect sparked thousands of comments. Another about truth set off speculation that a tell-all was coming. Emotions ran high across the board, and the family was left divided as relatives on both sides reportedly begged for calm while privately bracing for impact. Then came the alleged third exchange. Sources describe it as the most intense yet. Not loud, not explosive, but cold. Deliberate. According to whispers, it was a conversation where both sides stopped trying to be polite. Old boundaries collapsed. Grievances that had been buried for years were dragged into the open. Tamar allegedly accused him of dismissing her feelings when it mattered most, of rewriting history to suit his comfort. Mendeecees reportedly fired back, claiming she was weaponizing vulnerability for sympathy and letting fans fill in gaps that weren't fair. Those close to the situation say that exchange left both of them shaken. Not because of what was said, but because of what was confirmed. Each realized the other was standing firmly in their own version of events, unwilling or unable to see the other side. There was no common ground left to retreat to. Only pride, pain, and a growing sense that this situation was spiraling beyond personal control. Outside of their private circles, the public reaction grew louder and more polarized. Fan camps formed like battle lines. Some hailed Tamar as brave for speaking her truth, praising her for not staying silent anymore. Others accused her of stirring drama, insisting that airing vague accusations without full context was unfair. Mendeecees' supporters pushed back hard, arguing that he was being painted as a villain without evidence, that the internet was eager to tear him down because controversy sells. Comment sections turned into war zones. Old clips resurfaced. Past interviews were dissected. Fans searched for patterns, signs, anything that could validate their chosen narrative. Emotions ran high as people projected their own experiences onto the situation, turning it into something larger than the two people involved. What started as one night now felt like a symbol of unresolved gender dynamics, power struggles, and the cost of public vulnerability. According to insiders, the stress began affecting those closest to both parties. Friends felt caught in the middle, afraid that supporting one side publicly would permanently sever ties with the other. Family members reportedly argued behind closed doors about what should be said and what should remain private. The family was left divided not because of loyalty alone, but because everyone feared the long-term consequences of saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. Late that night, rumors surfaced that legal teams had been quietly consulted. Nothing official, nothing confirmed, but enough to send shockwaves through fan communities. Speculation exploded about cease and desist letters, defamation concerns, and potential interviews being blocked. Whether true or not, the idea that things had reached that level made it clear this wasn't just emotional anymore. It was strategic. Tamar was reportedly advised to step back from social media entirely, to protect her mental health and avoid feeding the narrative. Friends say she struggled with that advice, feeling that stepping back meant letting others define her story. Mendeecees, meanwhile, was said to be considering a controlled statement, something measured and calm, but every draft allegedly felt inadequate against the emotional storm surrounding him. By the time the night ended, both sides were exhausted but unresolved. No closure, no understanding, just two people standing on opposite sides of a widening gap, each convinced they were reacting to hurt, not causing it. And as fans waited for the next move, one truth became impossible to ignore. This situation had crossed a line where going back to how things were was no longer an option. The following morning arrived with a strange calm that fooled no one. It wasn't peace, it was pressure. The kind that settles in right before something explodes. Fans woke up refreshing feeds, expecting statements, apologies, denials, anything. Instead, there was nothing. And that nothing spoke louder than any words ever could. Emotions ran high across social media, because silence at this stage felt intentional, calculated, and heavy with meaning. Behind the scenes, sources claim both camps were in crisis mode. For Tamar Braxton, the emotional toll was becoming impossible to hide. Friends say she felt trapped between wanting to scream her truth and wanting to disappear from the noise entirely. She reportedly expressed frustration that people were turning her pain into entertainment, twisting her emotions into clickbait headlines and reaction videos. Yet at the same time, she couldn't ignore the messages pouring in from fans who said they felt seen, validated, and empowered by her vulnerability. That duality weighed heavily on her, pulling her in opposite directions. Those close to her claimed she began asking hard questions about accountability and healing. Was this moment meant to be a reckoning, or was it a warning that speaking out always comes with consequences? She allegedly revisited old advice she had once ignored, about protecting her heart in an industry that thrives on spectacle. But now, the spectacle was already in motion, and stepping away didn't mean it would stop. It just meant she wouldn't control how it unfolded. Meanwhile, Mendeecees Harris was reportedly dealing with a different kind of pressure. Insiders say his frustration had evolved into something colder, more calculated. Where anger once drove his reactions, strategy now took the wheel. He allegedly began viewing the situation less as an emotional dispute and more as a battle over narrative control. Every word mattered, every pause mattered, and every rumor left unchecked felt like a loss. Sources close to him claim he felt deeply misunderstood. From his perspective, what the public was reacting to wasn't the truth, but a distorted version shaped by assumption and imagination. He allegedly told someone that the worst part wasn't the accusations themselves, but the way people filled in blanks without knowing the full story. That sense of injustice hardened his stance, making compromise feel less like resolution and more like surrender. As both sides retreated inward, the people around them began to crack. Mutual friends reportedly found themselves interrogated from all angles. Bloggers reached out relentlessly, promising fair coverage while fishing for exclusive quotes. Some friends chose silence to protect themselves, while others quietly distanced themselves altogether, unwilling to be collateral damage in a war they didn't start. The family was left divided even further as whispers of loyalty and betrayal grew louder behind closed doors. Then came another twist that reignited the fire. A resurfaced clip, years old, suddenly began circulating again. Fans dissected it frame by frame, claiming it proved everything, while others insisted it proved nothing at all. Context was debated, intentions were questioned, and once again, speculation outran facts. Emotions ran high as the internet treated the past like a crystal ball, searching for answers that may have never been there to begin with. According to insiders, that resurfaced moment struck a nerve. Tamar allegedly felt exposed all over again, like pieces of her life were being weaponized without her consent. She reportedly expressed anger that moments she thought were harmless were now being reframed to fit a narrative she didn't agree with. The lack of control over her own story became almost unbearable, intensifying her internal conflict about whether staying quiet was even possible anymore. On the other side, Mendeecees was said to feel validated by the resurfacing clip, believing it showed nuance that the current narrative ignored. But even that validation came with frustration, because no amount of context seemed to slow the machine once it was moving. Blogs picked sides, fans doubled down, and the gray area between right and wrong disappeared entirely. Late that evening, whispers spread that a private meeting had been suggested by a mutual connection. Nothing confirmed, nothing scheduled, just the idea of it floating in the air like a fragile possibility. Some saw it as a chance for closure. Others saw it as a trap. According to sources, both sides reacted cautiously, aware that one wrong conversation could escalate things beyond repair. Trust was already fractured, and rebuilding it felt like an impossible task. Tamar reportedly wrestled with the idea all night. Friends say she wanted accountability, not excuses. Honesty, not deflection. But she also feared being emotionally overwhelmed, pulled back into a dynamic that had already caused her pain. The thought of sitting face to face, reopening wounds, made her anxious, yet avoiding it entirely felt like leaving the story unfinished. Mendeecees, on the other hand, was said to be skeptical. Insiders claim he questioned the timing, wondering whether any conversation now would be genuine or simply strategic. From his point of view, too much damage had already been done publicly for anything private to truly fix it. Still, the idea lingered, because unresolved conflict has a way of demanding attention no matter how deeply it's buried. As midnight approached, both sides remained silent publicly, but the tension was anything but quiet. Fans stayed awake, convinced something would drop before morning. Reaction channels went live with speculation. Comment sections overflowed with theories, predictions, and emotional projections. Everyone felt like they were watching the build-up to a climax that hadn't yet arrived. And somewhere in that charged silence, one truth became increasingly clear to everyone involved. This situation had stopped being about one night, one conversation, or one exposed moment. It had become a mirror, reflecting deeper issues of trust, power, and emotional boundaries. Whatever happened next wouldn't just define this drama. It would define how both sides moved forward from it. And now that you've heard everything up to this moment, the question shifts from what happened to what happens next. Because nothing about this situation feels finished. The silence, the tension, the unanswered accusations, they're all still hanging in the air, waiting for someone to make the next move. You can feel it, that sense that one statement, one interview, one post could flip the entire narrative upside down. Fans are shocked not just by what has already unfolded, but by how much remains unsaid. You've watched how emotions ran high, how private moments turned into public battlegrounds, and how quickly the internet became both witness and judge. You've seen how the family was left divided, how friends were forced to choose sides, and how silence itself became a weapon. And now, you're standing at the edge of the story with everyone else, wondering who will break first. Will there be a confession, a denial, an apology, or something even more explosive? Will truth finally meet accountability, or will this drama fade without resolution, leaving scars instead of closure? This is where you come in. Because stories like this don't live in isolation anymore. They live in comment sections, in reactions, in conversations sparked by people like you. What do you think really happened behind closed doors? Do you believe silence was protection, or was it control? Was speaking out an act of courage, or did it open a door that should have stayed closed? There are no easy answers, and that's exactly why this moment matters. If you felt the tension, if you caught yourself replaying moments in your head, if you found your emotions shifting as the story unfolded, then you already know this isn't just gossip. It's about power, vulnerability, and what happens when private pain collides with public platforms. And your perspective adds another layer to that conversation. Your voice matters here, so don't just watch and move on. Pause for a second, hit that like button if this story pulled you in. Subscribe if you want to stay locked in for every update, every twist, every reveal that may come next. Because trust this story isn't done. And when the next chapter drops, you'll want to be right here, ahead of the noise. Most importantly, drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell us whose side you're leaning toward and why. Tell us what you think should happen next. Do you want honesty, accountability, reconciliation, or distance? Do you think some truths should stay private, or does silence only protect the wrong people? Let your voice be part of this moment. Because in a world where everyone is watching, reacting,